All right, guys, it's Paul Singh, the market speculator, with the trade report for February 1st, 2016, Monday. Let's take a look here at futures. SPY down about 0.6%, NASDAQ 0.4, so we're down about a 0.5% here. Not really significant going into the open. I usually don't care unless we start to get close to 1%. Oil a little different, down over 3.5% here. Two different crudes here, one 2.5, one 3.5. This has been so volatile, it can change. And remember here, it's made such a big move that really the 2.5% isn't that big a deal, but we'll pay attention to that because we are in UWTI. So that's right now, that's just a pullback, and we'll see how it closes and how it affects the position. We were already up about 20% on UWTI. So not a huge move that would make UWTI probably down around 6 to 8%. So we'll keep an eye, but nothing to be too concerned about. Pre-market movers, interesting that Twitter is up about 7%. I haven't checked the news yet. WIN is up about 5%. That was already on my being added to my focus list. So we'll take a look at that. Let's look at SPY here. Big move on Friday, which is great for us. You know, we're coming off this bounce here. We're holding a half position now in SPXL. We had taken profits when it had jumped earlier here, and now we're getting close to our kind of final target here. I remember there's three ways we decided to play the bounce. We took SPY, we took ERX, a little later and playing through there, and then oil we took quick profits, and now another entry. So we've had one really profitable trade in oil. We're in it again, and we'll see how that plays out now. The other, let's take a look at SPXL here. So entry was at 62, took half off at 66, and right around 70 here again, pulling back a little bit today. Maybe we get some. This was a big move, so you know, again, when we're holding through these, you don't expect it to go straight to that target. There'll be some back and forth in here, and we have to be able to hold through it. It's a lot easier now that we've taken partials, but we're looking for a move now. We'll say somewhere between 72 and 76. We'll see how the market acts here, but this should be, you know, everything's moving the way we would expect it to move here. Now, UWTI entered at about 204, so right around 2, and we're at 246, so right around 250. So again, a pullback here is okay, you know, and we'll still hold even if it pulls back to about 1.8. And then reassess at that point. But we're looking for a move from between 3 and 4 here. This is so beat up, so much volume coming in that I think we can still make that push here. Obviously, sometimes there's some geopolitical events that can really affect oil, and we've always got those Wednesday numbers, but we're going to hold through here. And then energy kind of tied to oil and the market in a sense, and doing very well. We entered in the 17s up to 20. We talked about our initial target being 20 to 21, so we'll see how that plays out. But looking good so far this morning, notwithstanding. So in the market, a lot of commodities. You know, if we just pull up just about any commodity sector, steel, copper stocks, ag stocks, all the commodities running really nicely these past few days. Now the question is, for commodities, not only commodities, for the market now, is this bounce sustainable? Is it a bigger bounce that's going to run up, or is it kind of one of these dead cat bounces that will eventually break here and we get a short? So we're going to be watching very closely this week. I think this week is going to be an important week for that, to really see what the market does. So we'll be watching. Now, our other position here is Google. Google has earnings today, and we're at 761. Now, I talked about how if it was above 750, I was going to hold through earnings. I'm getting a little more nervous about that. I think Amazon was kind of a wake-up call that, you know, Amazon was down 100 points, and I was kind of factoring 50 to 60 point moves. So, you know, if it was a 50 or 60 point move, not going to hurt us at all, because we've already taken a partial here at 750. So it becomes a very small position now, and we can factor in the profits we already took. And then again, the upside is so big that the reward risk becomes, you know, 10 to 1, 12 to 1. But if we're going to look at 100, 150 point move, which I really didn't factor in until I saw the after hours move in Google. If we look at Google here, one of the FANG stocks ended up down about 60 points. So I'm torn here, but you need to know this. It's ultimately your decision when you're making your own trade, whether you want to get out today or play through earnings. But keep that in mind, that maybe this can drop a little farther than we've kind of factored in here. But so you always want to think about risk and defense before offense. So keep that in mind. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. Maybe if it runs up to 770, I'm happy with, running from 720 to 770, 780. So we'll see. We've already taken profit at 750, so at least the position size is smaller here. Now we're looking for an entry in Facebook. I talked about entering above 110. We got to 112 on Friday. I'll see if it pulls back in a little bit for an entry, or maybe it breaks below here and actually pulls back. So we'll be watching Facebook. But Facebook has reacted very well to earnings, which is the opposite of what Netflix and Amazon have done. And you can see Netflix, again, we talked about the break of the 200, and I just kind of missed it. I know some of you took it and are doing really good with this. It had closed down here at 100, and I wanted to see it come back up to about 102, 103, which it never did. So I lost out on this trade here. I know some of you took it, and that's great. But Netflix here, we'll watch for a bounce now at some point. I would expect some kind of bounce. And then maybe we can reestablish a short if it ends up failing on that bounce. And let me pull up the focus list from the report. I don't have them written down here. And on Friday, most of these really didn't do much, so they're pretty much all still in play here. We're talking about Apple bounced nicely off this level. Let me get some closer charts in here. We talked about these lows here, and Apple bounced nicely. The key here is now if it fills the gap, and how does it act there. Buffalo Wild Wings bounced, but not really at an entry point. Cray, I talked about a possible short as it's extended, although it is still a bullish stock, but at some point it's got to pull back here. And on this day, I talked about looking for a signal. We didn't get on Friday. Friday it went even further, which is actually better if we were considering shorting, but we'll watch for a signal to get short, even though we'd like it. Solar in line with other commodities, but showing a much different pattern. It's not bottoming, it's actually at near highs. So we'll look for a possible entry this week in that one. Netflix beaten down here. VRX has been bottoming nicely here, and we'll look for an entry. This one's always a little tough because it can gap down quite a bit. So I want to see it get above the 50, and then we'll consider an entry, and that would be right around 100. And also we've added Win to the list here as it's ramped over the 50 and up 5% pre-market. And then Twitter, no pattern here. It doesn't look good, except we did get some volume coming on this day, but it's up about 7% this morning. So maybe that holds. If that holds, I might consider taking a shot. It's so beaten down here. So we'll see about that. But again, this week's kind of do or die for the bounce. Let's see what happens here. And I will see you either later today or early tomorrow.